people just don't have many opportunities in their life to sit down and have a person intently listen to them.
That was John Horton, and we talk about personality and values and a lot of deeper questions on how those two interrelate and what does it really mean for us. And I can't thank John enough for his time, and I'm hopeful that we'll talk again soon and have him back. This really was a lot of fun, and I know you're gonna enjoy.
It's cool. And well, I'm curious. You see so many people. Do you get clouded by the sheer volume of things that you've seen, and then it's sort of like, oh my God, or can you turn it off, or is it like always in you? I've been very curious about that
Yeah.
since we met. I'm like, do you just like walk around? Like if you're walking around the city, like I bet you that person, how does that?
It's a good question. If I'm really exploring it in this space, which I haven't done out loud before, I have a penchant to be a little arrogant. And so I try to like downplay myself. And then that, leads to a lot of self-deprecation and stuff. But if I'm bopping around the town and whatnot, I don't think of, I'm not like the Hogan filter isn't on. And the Hogan filter is absolutely totally a thing where I'm like evaluating, all right, what's really going on here? Every human interaction that is not, well, no, not even now, every human interaction it's on, it turns on. So this is like, I'm thinking like, okay, like high inquisitive, high aesthetics, and I'm just about high in everything. Like I've in terms of the assessments, so like all motivations are important to me aside from fun. I'm not like high in hedonism. But I'm high in all of our personality assessments, and that's not like I always tell people, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just when I think what I end up doing is I engage different aspects of my personality when I'm around different people that present as this being an important aspect of their personality, even in the opposite. So like I'm high adjustment, but like if I'm talking with someone who's low adjustment, if I'm trying to balance them out, then I'll be like optimistic and say, let's think about the positives and stuff. If I'm not, then, and I'm just trying to connect with them, then yeah, I talk about like I commiserate and stuff. So it is always on in terms of human interaction. When I'm talking with someone like in this setting, I try, I feel like I've been blessed with an ability to stay pretty locked in and focused with whoever I'm talking to, especially if I minimize distractions around here and all that. So I think it's what I have noticed is I absolutely go into a flow state when I get into dyadic conversations, even team conversations that are even remotely related to either Hogan. I think of it as psychology and personality. And Hogan's the medium through which we like talk about that stuff. But yeah, I everyone's different. That's the fun of it is it's like you get 60 minutes to start uncovering some things with them with their permission. And, you know, I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it. People give me a lot of positive feedback about it
And
if
what do you
they're
mean you
willing.
feel like you've been pretty good at it? What kind of bullshit is that?
I mean, I'm not like, like
It's eating the humble pie there, my friend. You're pretty good at it. You have to
I
recognize
make
that.
a lot of people cry in a good way. So no, no, no. I mean, it's I'm getting better and better at it. So I think as I look back and I'm like, man, how I used to do it when I was 28 to how I'm doing it now is way different. And I had a lot of it, I had a good amount of experience back then, but now I'm like, I'm a lot more efficient with stuff. Getting to the heart of it, of listening right away, of not getting wrapped up in saying the same thing the same way over and over. It's like, no, this, I got to tell you about a different aspect of the model of Hogan than someone else because you have different scores. Like you truly are. Like we really do view it. It shows, I think one thing that it has shown me is that truly every single person's different. And that's beautiful to me. Like that we're already arguably the most complex. I mean, outside of God, in my view, like Yahweh God, like outside of that, like we are the most complex beings or entities in the entire universe. I get to talk with one. I get to see some like 152 aspects of their behaviors or behavioral patterns and values and stuff. And then I'm there talking about that, and that's actually a pretty rare moment. Most people don't get that time. Like that's one thing I realized too is like people just don't have many opportunities in their life to sit down and have a person intently listen to them about stuff that they want to talk about. And
Isn't that crazy?
it's nuts, man. It's really special. Um, and it's bordering to me around sacred is I want to use that word really carefully, but like it's something like that. It's something that's like this needs to be taken really seriously. So yeah, every debrief I lock in. It's different than other debriefs. The only bias that I think that I have that's pretty consistent is telling stories from other profiles and people that I remember having conversations with and bringing them into a new conversation to say, people in the past that I've worked with have had problems with this. Is this a problem with you? And there's always some kind of nuance that makes it slightly different, but there are some stories that are absolutely archetypal of I'm a nice person. Yes, I do get taken advantage of. Yes, I have been taken advantage of, and it still scares me and bothers me today. Like that's a common thing when you see high interpersonally sensitive folks. Like, and I can do that with every scale because tell enough stories about the scales and you'll get like some archetypes that are, that sort of manifest from them. Anyway,
Wow.
that's that's my big long
Do you ever
answer to
see?
that.
No. That's and this area is like super interesting and super crazy. And if you recall, I don't know how I came across in the training, but I tend to be very skeptical, especially about this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. I dig it about you. It's cool. It,
Yeah,
it
so
it's it's a
I pushed it quite a bit. So I hope I didn't piss you you kind
no,
of off.
you didn't piss me off because I'm skeptical and you're skeptical and exploratory. And I think and like it only annoys me when it's applied to me. And then like who
What do you
cares? You
mean?
can be well like if like you're like, well, I don't know about that. Like that, you said something and that doesn't, that didn't resonate with me. I'm like, I'm galloping here and I have to like slow down and what it really ends up being is like when I look at your data, I'm like, I see why you would say this. Like you're not there's there's more simple profiles and then there's more complex profiles that are like, oh yeah, like the generalities that cover 80% of people don't cover this person. And when I'm in the mode and my goal is this is to cover the 80% and I have to switch to cover the 20, like that by nature should be frustrating. When I'm in the mode of like, let's cover the 20, it's absolute, there's zero frustration. You know what I mean? So that's why it's a
Yeah.
different, that's why I'm like, we actually need to talk one-on-one because like we need real time devoted to talking about like your nuances, which is like, yeah, totally. That's what I'm here for. And I like doing that type of thing. But
I
yeah,
think that's
it's,
where the real
so I
joy
get
of
it.
it, because the
Yeah.
80% you could probably do with your eyes closed, your hands tied behind back your head, and it is what it is. Not to minimize it, right? Because I
No, no,
think
no.
people
I
get a
know it.
tremendous amount of value out
Sure,
of it.
sure. Yeah.
But I think that other 20% that you're noting
Hmm.
really opens up curiosity and really sort of allows you to explore.
Yeah. It's where the relationship gets formed. There's a scalability aspect that comes with like the working with the group of people, like teaching 100 people about one scale or teaching, whatever, right? That's cool. I appreciate that aspect. And then there's okay, I'm forming a relationship with you now where we've got stories like, hey, remember when we did that podcast or I remember you in class, like you always had so many questions and stuff. And then we sat down and like it was really great to explore that. Like those are the stories that like I still have and based on what am I saying? Those are the stories that form the basis of relationships. So I'm a relationship oriented person. Like I like this type of stuff too. So yeah, it's this the skepticism does not bother me. It absolutely does not because I'm skeptical too. And I've got a weird profile. So yeah, I'm not calling you weird. You know what I'm saying?
See,
Yeah.
thanks, appreciate it, John. No, well, I think I said that because with these types of things, because of my being kind of skeptical about it, and I don't know
Yeah.
why I'm skeptical, but I tend to dig because to see what it is and what am I bucking and what do I not
Mhm.
agree with, and what do I think is bullshit. And there was a
Yeah.
couple things, these assessments, no matter what it is,
Yeah.
to your point, are never going to cover everything. But with
Yeah.
the beauty, I think the beauty of it is the reflection and the awareness, and then having the conversation. So
Hmm.
maybe none of it fits, or maybe 90% of it fits, but at least
Hmm.
it's the discussion that you have, which is important.
Exactly. There's a discussion. What I see, and I tell entrepreneurs this, I tell everybody this now at this point, is I say, look, obviously in my position, I want you to buy the assessments. I would love for you to have the data for your people. The bigger point though is if you're not in a mindset, and I'll tell this to like students, to entrepreneurs, to people who have low budgets, I'm like, essentially I'm trying to say you're probably not in the mindset to buy. That's fine. There's plenty of people who are. We'll handle those in a different regard. But you need to know this model as a model for human interaction, for human beings. Like, I want it to be core curriculum. Again, not Hogan. I think Hogan has the best model, but it's not, it doesn't have to be Hogan. But I want personality like taught in school as a basic thing of like, look, this is how you do your taxes. Like, this is how you go out and live in the world. This is part of social emotional learning. I think my sister's a teacher. She talked about that.
But isn't
And
it crazy that we don't do this? Like even
I,
this work, and even
yeah.
like emotional intelligence type work.
Hmm.
I mean, why do I have to wait until, after school and then all
Yeah.
these things to start learning about it? It's like, holy shit. I think I would have been maybe a little bit, I don't want to say better off, but I would have done things differently, or I maybe
Yeah.
would have thought differently.
Yeah. It's a problem that I'm interested in solving for sure. And it's something like my sister taught eighth grade math and science, and um, she doesn't teach anymore, but when she did, she would have me come to her class and just teach their kids about emotions. And
Oh,
like
really?
emotional intelligence 101 is actually, I think it's really easy for kids to understand. They seem to resonate a lot with it. Like, identify what the emotion is. Here are some seven basic emotions. There's more, right? But you
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
keep
yeah,
it
yeah.
keep it easy. And here's usually when you're feeling the negative emotion and the positive emotion. And even knowing that, it's like, oh, so they're related to goals. Like, yeah. So like if you're upset about something, like what goal are you upset about? I do it with my 3-year-old son, and he's like, I'm mad. Or it'll like start crying. Like, what's the goal that's being violated right now? And he's like, I wanted to do this. I'm like, okay, like, let's find a way to get that, or that goal's got to be extinguished.
It's
So
funny.
yeah.
I do something very similar with values, and I almost
Mhm.
feel like we're ships,
Yeah,
passing in the night, talking about the same thing.
probably
But
so.
yeah, yeah. It's so like when people, want to talk about values and how they find them and stuff like that, I say, well, think about something that really frustrated you.
Hmm.
Because, and then don't just take it at the level of frustration. Try to go a little bit deeper. What was it that caused it? And usually what you'll find is that there's some core value that you had that's being that's fighting against you,
Yeah,
right?
man.
Or that's,
Oh
this
yeah.
situation is like rubbing you the wrong way
Hmm.
because I'll just take a blanket one, like integrity, right? That's a big one that
Yeah.
everybody can relate to. Somebody's asking you to do something that doesn't fit with your integrity. So there's this
Hmm.
frustration, there's this anger, there's other things that come up. And it's because you're not living in alignment with what your core values are, or maybe you're working through that process.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great place for people to start, is just the awareness.
Right.
To your point, putting a
Exactly.
name to it.
Right. And and again, it's like, do I have to take these assessments to do it? It's like, no, you can kind of think of your own, uh, but I think you don't. You need someone there to like talk to you about, all right, let's go systematically through
Well,
this. That's
to your point, and trust me, I didn't want to have you on here to do a Hogan commercial. That's not the point.
that's all good,
I
man. No,
love
no, no. That's why
I
I'm
love
trying to
talking with you.
detach it
Yeah,
from
yeah, no, no, no.
from Hogan.
But what is important, and to your point earlier, I guess whatever framework you feel comfortable, but I think the important word is framework, right?
Mhm.
Because it gives you a structured way to do some type of analysis, right? Otherwise,
I
you're like
agree with that.
all over the place. I don't know
Mhm.
this, I don't know that. This is, but if you've got something that you can tie to, that'll help. And to your point, whether it's Hogan or any other one,
Mhm.
I don't think is the issue, but have something, and
Yeah.
then you can branch, right? You can explore. So to me, that's the important thing, is just having that framework, which I never had, when I
Yeah.
was younger.
I think most of us didn't. I mean, this is where I think of Nietzsche, and when he said, God is dead and we have killed him, he's talking about our value set that was God, that was like the thing that we held above everything as a society, as a body politic, right? Like was removed, and now we have to build our own set of values. But I mean, how long was it since he said that, and what set of values do we actually have? And for me, having gone through like part of my story, like essentially like moving away from the value set that was, for me as a Christian, is like moving away from that, realizing like my values haven't actually changed. I still feel morally bound to these things. I didn't really escape like this value set and create my own value set. And whatever I did actually create is actually, it's not really that original. It's like the same value set. It's just different names, for like
What would you say
whatever.
if I asked you, what are your, can you identify what those values are? What would
Yeah,
they
I
be?
mean, now they're biblically rooted. So I mean, it's and I'm still kind of like a baby Christian, but essentially it would have been like loving God. I have it up here, like fruits of the spirit. Essentially, where are they? Love, peace, joy, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control, which has been 100% necessary based on like my nature, and into like kind of moving into now, having a family. And so like I didn't I didn't know that. I had a different view of God back in the day, like when I was a lot younger. And it's funny now that I think about it, how they say like you don't leave your job, you don't quit your job, you quit your boss, because your boss has different values than you. I felt my image of God had different values than me, and I had different values than him. Right. Now this was the wrong conception of God. Absolutely. It's like not God's nature. It wasn't all loving. It was like this, tyrannical. It was replication of my father, essentially. I had a strained relationship with him. And then I go
Is that why
through
you
this.
said you left? You said you left your
Mhm.
values, or you thought you
Yeah, I
left your
did.
values?
I did. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I was like, I'm not a believer anymore. And then like I have this like space in the wilderness where I'm just running around. My life's getting like significantly worse. Like I'm happier in the sense of like I'm drinking a lot now. I'm going out and partying and stuff. And it was hedonistic, but it wasn't meaningful. It wasn't like anything substantial. And then I was like, this sucks. Like I'm at odds with myself now. And I realized looking back, I'm like, yeah, okay. Like I gotta, prodigal son, come back to the Lord. And now those values are fruits of the spirit, values of biblical values. And I still like through that lens, I could see a framework of values that is already like biblically oriented. But then I guess the point that I was sort of trying to get at in a long-winded sense is like, I think a lot of us didn't grow up with that idea of there needs to be a framework of values. So we don't have very explicit categorized values. Hogan's an option for that within the workplace. But what I think we lost as a society was sort of like either like religious values. I would say biblical, because just
Well,
that's my, yeah.
it's no, it's funny that you say that, because what's coming up for me when you're talking about this is what we had said a little bit earlier, is that
Mhm.
that time that you spend with somebody,
Yeah.
they don't get that time to explore these things, and like on a
Yeah, totally.
real. And I think part of that is, and again, this is just hyperbole in me, I don't have any actual data on this, but
Yeah.
you hear that there is a movement away from religious based sort of faith, and regardless of
Hmm.
whatever the religion is, there just seems to
Yeah.
be people moving away from that. And I think that may be when I'm saying earlier it should be taught and we should have these values sort of frameworks
Yeah.
laid out. I think that early one is religion, regardless of what religion you are, whether
Mhm.
it's Christian, Judaism,
Mhm.
Muslim,
Yeah.
whatever it is. I think that was the like sort of the original, values framework that people get introduced
Yeah.
to. And we're moving away from that. And then there's a void. And now we're
Exactly.
like, what the hell's going on? And
And
then,
it's,
you see these things, it's like, oh my God, you know
yeah.
me, right? Like, how many times have people said that to you? Probably when they go through
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, a lot, a lot. Right. It's like, where you've been following me around. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's a good framework, and because it's trying to distill everything down. I mean, Hogan in general is a good framework because it's trying to distill your values, your extreme behaviors, and your almost like characteristic work behaviors into what can be reduced. It's it's, it's trying to reduce it down into like its core component parts, I would say. But I still want to zoom out even outside of Hogan. I again, full commercial pitch for Hogan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But what you said there,
Don't
what
worry,
you
I'll,
said
I'll
that,
edit that out.
yeah, yeah, that I want to harken back to is even having a framework that brings up the types of conversations that you should have, which to me are oriented towards each scale, which is like, all right, well, let's talk about this. Like if I'm doing a parlor trick and they're like, oh, can you guess my personality? I'm like, okay, do you feel fear, sadness, anger, worry a lot? Kind of, I guess. It's like, are you stressed all the time? Like, yeah, I am. Cool. So you're probably lower on adjustment. It doesn't matter that you are if you aren't lower on adjustment necessarily. It matters of like the conversation that we could have around stress, the
Yeah.
conversation we could have around resilience, and what aspects of your personality or contribute to you being seen as less resilient and being seen as more resilient. Like that's where the meat of it actually is. So once you have the framework downloaded in your head, you're kind of like, all right, like I still need the assessments, of course. I just can't like um I still need the assessments, but like I can still have the types of conversations that I would have if I were looking at someone's data.
Well, I think the assessments, regardless of which one you choose, help facilitate the dialogue to get you to go deep,
That's so much
right?
better said than what I was trying to say. That's
No,
exactly
no, no,
what I
no.
meant, dude. Yeah, man, that what you just said there. Just skip all that and just say that.
Well, but sometimes people need that, and I don't want to say crutch, but they need that as a catalyst,
Sure, sure, sure.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the good thing is that there's data. So the other thing I'm a fan of is data,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So now you have something that you can tangibly hold on to in terms of what your experience is, right? It's not just a conjecture. It's not just John met me and oh my God, he knows me, all this kind of stuff.
mhm.
It's actual data that you can go back to and you can say,
Yeah,
well, this is why I can explore having this experience because there's data
yeah,
behind this. I don't know if that makes
exactly.
sense or I'm just
It
yapping.
makes total no, 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 you're not yapping. It makes total sense. The data, there's so many ways that you can be wrong with someone's nature because you observe something, you observe some behavior, and you're like, oh, well, I think I know why that happens. And it's like, you probably don't, like you might get it right every now and then, but like once you have the data behind it, you're like, oh, okay, like you're not dressed well because you care about how you look and aesthetics and whatnot. You're dressed well because like you think that's what you should be dressed as. Like that's the role that you're playing. Well, that's a different scale. That's like it's a different scale that's elevated than another scale. And if you start building assumptions based off people, if you start building assumptions based off like data that's not dependable or reliable, then you're going to be
Yeah, yeah,
wrong, and you're going to
yeah.
get it wrong in a major way in some point.
But again,
So
I think it's just the catalyst, right? Because I imagine there's times where you have maybe two people or multiple people who have a very, very similar profile. I'm sure nothing
mhm.
is
Oh,
exact,
totally. Yeah.
right? But when you talk to them, the interpretation behind that data can be totally different, right? So you
Exactly.
can have A and B who have very similar, almost exact profiles, but could be
Mhm.
totally different in terms of how they interpret the relative scales and how they
Yeah.
experience them.
Oh yeah. I mean, the group that I've worked with the most consistently, or like the category of people outside of like independent coaches, consultants, and recruiters, which is that's just huge.
Mhm.
So, but they're entrepreneurs. So it's very similar space. You know, I know there's differences between tech and like consumer products, but like uh, they have really similar profiles. There's obviously little nuances and stuff, but I mean, you are done and dead in the water if you go into that, you know, that like a debrief with an entrepreneur, assuming they're going to be like every other entrepreneur. Like, yeah, there's
Mhm.
exploratory aspects to them and they're creative and you can say some similar things, but that's to start the conversation and let them get into like, all right, about your context, what are some nuances we should know? And then you get into the real like fun of the discussion if they let you go there. So like,
Well,
well,
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the other
yeah,
thing. That's a great point. Is that,
hmm
sometimes people aren't ready to go there. But if
yep,
they've taken the step to do something like an assessment,
hmm
that's a pretty good indicator that they're willing to go there.
yeah,
But then people get a little scared though, I think, right?
yeah, they do. I think especially there's certain profiles like I have to kind of catch myself in the moment where I'm like, all right, like we're saying a lot of negative things, and that is particularly painful for you, and it's wearing on you. I can see it. So like, let me tell you all the stuff you do really, really well again, because you need to hear it like 5 times for every like one thing that you hear is
Yeah.
negative. Um, yeah, I mean that's something I bring up to people like in the moment. I say like, listen, we can you know, I do this stuff all the time where I'm talking with a stranger and I will go as deep as you want to go. Like we can go as far as you want to go in terms of like I see this scale or this scale combination or this theme, ask you some questions about this, we'll really lock in and get to a development plan or like a and some action items for you to consider and I can check in with you later or something like that if you want to do that. Most people are like, nah, I'm good. Because but I always acknowledge like I know I'm a stranger to you. I'm a new person. So I'm going to ask some things that might be kind of uncomfortable, but you can just log that in your brain as like, I probably need to answer that question. I don't need to answer it with you, John, but I probably need to address that question
Well,
or,
sometimes
yeah,
it's better to have those
mm,
discussions with a stranger. Sometimes people are
yeah,
a little
true.
more. Did you
Yeah.
did you reassess your values? You talked about, you sort of
hmm
wavered from them. Did you reassess them by using a framework, or was that something that you
Yeah.
naturally said, I need to revisit this, or was it was it the birth of your child, or was it there some sort of event that happened to you that said, whoa, wait
Mm.
a minute?
It's a good question that I've never been asked before. I think it's more of a reflection of like, I mean, the comments that I was making about like having left my values were more of a reflection of like, I think society doesn't have a good framework to, I'd say society doesn't have a colloquial framework that you can work off of in terms of your values and that it should be there because that would be like something should be there because that would be better. And then thinking on that, I'm like, well, you know, the Bible is one framework for one, you know, big community that can do that. And then you know then kind of using that idea to reflect like my set of values I felt like changed but they really didn't. I started Hogan when I was 26 right out of grad school. I'm 35 now, so it's about 9.5 years that I've been here and you know I rediscovered my faith in the middle of that. um, my values largely haven't changed from a workplace perspective. I'm high on basically everything. uh, Altruism has dipped from high to
Let's
low.
just say, in
Yeah.
terms of the assessment, not just generally high on everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Thanks, man. Yeah, yeah. I appreciate that clarification. It's like, don't fire me. Um,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I'm high on all of our motivators, which recognition, power, hedonism. I'm not high on hedonism, but recognition, power, um, uh, altruism's moderate now, affiliation's high, so I like teamwork, tradition, um, security I know is high. I can just pull mine up actually. And commerce, aesthetics, and science, all of those are high. I'm like 100 on science.
Really?
Um, yeah, hedonism's always been a tricky thing for me because I feel ultimately in my soul, if I still check back into it, it's like I don't really deserve to have fun until the work is done. Um, and I'm bad at having fun. Um, so like my wife will kind of get me out of that. But yeah, I fun's a weird topic for me.
Why?
Um it's I think I've had it kind of logged in my brain like that any fun that I was having as a kid was deviant and was done outside of the boundaries of what I should be doing, which was like study and further the honor of the family, stuff like that. Like that kind of mentality. I know that's kind of weird, a weird way to say it, but like that's how I felt. Um,
Still feel that way?
yeah, 100%. Like I feel guilty when I'm having fun. Especially if like days off, like I have to take them because my wife tells me I have to take them, like not because like, I'm actually like, yeah, I'm really excited to do this fun thing and not work. My values tied to my like life value ends up being like really tied to work and stuff like that too. So super toxic, not good stuff, but like, um,
Oh, that's
yeah,
interesting that you even recognize that.
yeah, it's not good, and I don't want it for other people. But like a low hedonism person will do. And for those of you who don't know, like hedonism is a value of integrating work and play, and typically lower hedonism people don't value that as much. I'm talking about my hedonism score
Yeah,
and its
I
manifestation.
pulled mine up just as we were talking about it.
Yeah,
My hedonism 93.
yeah. So, to me, like even this talk is like work, and I don't frame it as a fun thing. Now, when I look at what else I have to do today, I was looking forward to this because even in the framework of work, I'm like, there's fun stuff that I can do. Like I love doing what we're doing, and I really like talking to you as well. The comment about being annoying, that was it would have been anybody, not just you, if I'm in the mode of this.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to hurt
No,
our
no.
relationship with
I
that.
totally get it. Totally get it.
Okay, cool. Um, but yeah, I mean the hedonism piece in general is like I'll stop my team from having fun if I feel like we've had too much fun. Like, okay, like back to work, and um I get like that, like I don't know, the last like fun day that I had where I really didn't have work to do, I played video games for like 6 hours. And then after that I was like, I gotta sell my game console. Like this is stupid. Like I need to get
Well,
back to work.
I find that
Yeah.
very interesting. I hope you don't mind me making this comment because
No, do your thing. Yeah.
you and I both also share a very fond affinity for comedy, stand-up comedy,
Yeah.
right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's I find that interesting.
But it's I'm watching someone at work doing like excelling there. You know what I mean? Like it's the work of entertainment. So I'm high on colorful too. So like I like the idea of acting, but I like it. It's like the actor I respect the most is probably Daniel Day-Lewis, or Marlon Brando, right? These like really deep,
Method.
probably yeah, exactly, right? Which is like fully immersed, fully, you could almost say authentic for that period of time, not the period of time of that period of time of their lives, of like, I am this thing now, So I, yeah, man, it's all still work to me. It's my big question that I want to ask every dad that I see out at the dog park and whatnot is like, what do you do for work? How's that going? Let's talk about your work. A lot of my friends, I have some friends in consulting, and they're like, can we not talk about work? Like, seriously, you asked me that? Like, all
Well,
right, sure. What
what's
else do we
the
talk about?
yeah, what's the driver? What is it that you want to know? There seems to be this curiosity. So what is it?
Yeah,
What is
I
that
want to
curiosity
be.
satisfying?
I'm insecure in my value, in the value that I provide to the world. Work is a common area of like hard to navigate for people, like quote unquote hard to navigate for people. Um, I like I feel like that's my subject matter expertise. So I sort of like spam that. Like if you know what I mean, like if that term makes sense, I sort of talk about it a lot because I feel like it's a way that I can immediately add value. Otherwise, I just think of myself as like I'm 6'3". I mean, you saw me. I'm
Yeah.
6'3". I'm 250 now, which I'm not stoked about, but it has made me stronger. Um, but I see myself as like, well, if I wasn't doing psychology or like being smart, what would I do? And it's like, I'd be doing
If I
construction. I'd be
wasn't
like,
being smart.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be like swinging a hammer. And that's not to say that's a stupid thing. I'm not calling anyone stupid who's doing that, but I'm saying viewing myself like, what asset do I provide to the world? Like traditionally, I would have been a fighter or a hunter, and just being good at that. And I am. I have some physical gifts and stuff like that. And but that's not, I'm not good enough. I'm not freaking Tyrell Owens over here. Like I'm not, I'm not that good. I'm just like I can swing a hammer and do manual labor and lift heavy stuff and put it down. So
Well, it sounds like
yeah,
it sounds like you're describing something else, a whole other topic. Just we could talk about this for hours, but it almost
yeah.
sounds like purpose. Sounds like you found a
Yeah, yeah,
purpose.
yeah, yeah. My purpose now as I've reframed it and you know, kind of come out of like, probably 2 decades of depression and is like I am a child of God. I am, my purpose, my ministry is to bring kingdom here. I know that kind of sounds, if like you're not in it, like it kind of sounds crazy. But those Christians who are hearing this are like, yeah, all right, cool. That's what it is, right? Um, but my medium through doing that I know is the I'd say like the work that I'm doing at Hogan, and the work that I'm doing with people. And so like I kind of I find myself, and I think it has something to do with prudence of like I find myself like naturally like, oh, what do I do, what do I talk about outside of like little small talk and chatter. It's like, oh, I got to help this person, or I've got to like
Mm.
make an impact in their life or something like that. And so I
That's a
think that's
beautiful
why I
thing.
go
That's
to
a
work.
beautiful thing in itself.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely has its like you can hear the way I'm talking about it. I'm not like, oh, I don't like to have fun. It's like, no, I kind of don't. Everyone's different, like I'm more oriented that way. You're other people are more oriented this way. And it's so I'm not saying it from like an Eeyore like depressive state. It's just more of like I've learned this is my individual difference,
Well, that's how
you
you
know.
define it. Everybody
Yeah,
defines it differently.
yeah,
Everybody is,
totally.
yeah, everybody's different.
Yeah. So yeah, so I don't know if that's where we wanted to go today, but
I
but
don't
that's
know
where we
either, but
went.
I don't know. That's where we are, right? It's being in the moment. So, do you find yourself wanting to reassess or revalidate the values that you have, or because at
Yeah.
different stages of life, I mean, you just mentioned you've
Hmm.
got a young child, so
Yeah.
that in
There,
itself is one of those moments. It's like, oh,
yeah, yeah. I reassess every couple years or so. So my last reassessment was 2023. So my son had already been born. I mean, I guess if I were to reassess now, there's some things that I might like almost aspirationally say it's like, well, that might be a little bit lower. But as I'm looking at my results now, I'm like, yeah, I mean, all these things are still important.
Well,
I view,
I meant reassess those values that are on your wall that you looked at before, not
oh, that
necessarily.
those are recent. Those are recent. Yeah, those are as of like a few months ago, when I started feeling like,
Really?
okay, like,
What did you
yeah,
do?
yeah, yeah.
Did you do? What was the process when you did that?
It was, I think it's just, or like kind of rediscovering that like these values that I had, like, because I had values around like strength and honor and stuff like that. And like, okay, like that's not bad, but like what should be my core values beyond that? Like what are the values that my wife can also, I think you know what it is as I think about it. I think like strength and honor and and discipline and all these, those were my values. But as I've certainly been feeling a merging of my wife and myself, because we've been married 4 years, so we're still kind of in our infancy as a marriage of like a 30-40 year marriage. um and I think like as like I become less and I am like our marriage becomes more, there was a shifting of values of like, okay, those things are still important to me. I will teach my son those things, as like this is like almost a dad specific set of sub values. Hey, honor, strength, integrity, these things are super, super important. But like what will carry you for the rest of your life? What is something that your mom and I share and our community shares are going to be like fruits of the spirit, biblical values, that type of thing.
Mhm.
So I think that's probably why the shift has been happening. Um, yeah, so that's I hadn't thought of that until now, but that has been the process that's been happening. So
Was it intentional to say that I'm gonna sort of reassess this, or like I'm curious how it
no,
came
it
up.
wasn't. It was reactionary. It was uh just some like I'd say probably I don't know the actual like acute impetus for it. I have a like a whiteboard here that kind of has like our like daily reminders and stuff like that. And I think I really started with like I need daily reminders. And I was like, well, it'd be good to have like a vision, mission, and values for my family. I have that for work. Why not for my family?
Yeah.
And then we got into like budgeting and stuff, and so like it has like all the essentials on there. Um,
The
but
strategic and
yeah,
tactical
yeah,
aspects.
exactly, yeah. So then when I got to values, I was like, all right, well, I've got these values, but like I only I resonate with them, and I'm kind of like strength is important, but like, is it more important than being kind? In my fights with my wife, no, it's not. Kindness is way more important,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That gets me the best outcomes if we want to be solely utilitarian. But in general, like me being strong isn't the same with me being kind. I think what I'll find is that I can be stronger through kindness or something like that. Of like, because as I'm trying to be kind, that's actually where almost like the workout is at of like, I want to be
Ki-
angry right now.
Kindness
Go be
can be a
kind.
reflection of your strength.
There you go, man. Yeah, exactly. Right. I hadn't thought of it like that, but you could see like I was right on the outskirts of like getting there. So yeah, so that's kind of I think that's the well, that's been sort of the shift that I've been having.
That's pretty wild.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah. Thanks for
if
working through that with me.
no, no, hey, I love this stuff. Just like you had said, like you ask somebody in the playground, what do you do for work? I like
Yeah,
to go around and try to figure out, what are people's values, what makes them tick, what makes them drive. I love that stuff.
I can dig it, man. I can
Oh,
dig it.
so if I asked you on this journey through your entire life, if you had to say like who are your heroes or people that inspired you on
Yeah.
your journey, who would some of those people be?
I mean, like obvious one you can guess is going to be Jesus, right? Like so, and what more could you want from a person? And so to say anyone else is kind of like, wow, are you putting them on the same level as Jesus? Like, no, I'm not. So there's Jesus, and then there's like every other mere mortal. Huge. I mean, just Dr. Hogan is an incredible person, and I think he gets a lot of praise for his intellect, but there's more. He's such a good man. He's such a good person, and Wendy Hogan as well. And I'm not saying that like obviously I've got my Hogan shirt on and all that, but like I've seen them in these informal settings and their generosity and their care and like I don't know, man. I mean, there's enough. I think there's just been enough times where like the guard actually has been down and it's not this carefully crafted, snaky, like, C-suite Machiavellian type person. That's just not there with them. They really want to make an impact in the world and they actually take action on that and they try every day. They work hard every day, and I have massive respect for that. It sets an incredible tone for the leaders at Hogan, who I think are also perpetuating their values that that are Dr. Hogan and Wendy Hogan put out there, and it makes me as a leader at Hogan want to do the same thing. So there's a lot of cohesion in that. So
That's very
massive,
interesting. That's very
yeah,
interesting just that you say that, right? Because there is,
yeah,
it's that values congruence, the values
hmm
alignment, right? And
exactly.
I think a lot of organizations and a lot of people
hmm
would benefit if they just reflected on that and
Yeah.
said, is this part of who we are? Is that part of the
hmm
DNA of our organization? Do we
Yeah.
think that way? Because you can see it and feel it in your voice when you say that.
Seriously, man. I mean, it's like at some point it becomes really like you just don't fake it because it's like, you just can't, I guess. But
People smell that right
that's
away.
what I'm saying, right? There's they see the inauthenticity if someone's not actually like aligned with the Hogan values. And then you've got people who've been working here 15, 16, 20 years, or it's been their only career or their only career stop. It's like, why do you do that? Like, you've got plenty of options. Hogan's totally a career maker, but you do that because you love what you know the mission, and the mission's authentic all the way up to the top. And there's individual differences. I mean, there's little personality things that get in the way sometimes, like egos and stuff. But like, who cares? Like, you can see right past that and still see someone's heart. That's what's dope about it. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
what I usually say that once you get that baseline,
Yeah.
of understanding of who we are and what our
Hmm.
organization is, you can talk to the person, not through the
Exactly.
person,
Yeah,
right?
man, that's totally it, right? Like, I know, like, if you know their values, you sort of know, like, all right, like, I'm talking to this set of values in some regard too. And so, that's how you can influence. And it's not like influence to get your way, but like, I don't know, just like find some area of like, okay, you're high power, I'm high power, let's get this thing done. That's what we're both trying to do. Like, I can dig that. So yeah, man. I mean, that I'd say that, like, Carl Jung's I have a lot of respect for Carl Jung. I'd say Jordan Peterson too, like, kind of early Jordan Peterson, because I started watching Jordan Peterson before he got like into like politics and stuff, and when he was still like lecturing and all that. I found his
Yeah.
lectures to be incredibly inspirational. And yeah, right. Those are some people. Yeah,
Oh, that's very cool. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that. I
yeah,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking.
If there was, if somebody was listening to this, what would be one or two key takeaways you would want that person to have? Or if your son listens to this 20 years later, right? Because nothing dies on the internet these days.
Yeah, man.
What were one of the one or two things you would want him to walk away with?
Yeah, love your God with all your heart, strength, soul, and mind. I said that in the wrong order, but it'd be that. I think too, like, seek wisdom, um, and truly seek it, like, in your behavior and your soul. Um, yeah, because I think I would say that I was seeking wisdom, but I was actually just like, I just wanted to be smarter than other people. Um, so yeah, that doesn't work. And then
There's always somebody smarter.
yeah, there's always someone smarter, bigger, stronger, all those things, right? And then, keep, like, pick a thing and work hard towards it. That's probably that covers the high inquisitive, and it covers the prudence, and it covers like directionality, and I think like testosterone underpinned behavior, like that. I want to be a garbage man. It's like, be a garbage man, dude. Go do it all. Do it really, really well. So yeah.
Well, I'm curious about one thing. This is coming up for me. So, say you're in your 70s,
Hmm.
right? What does strength mean for you as a value at that point in your life?
I think being able to like absorb emotion and have responsibility, and like hold responsibility on my shoulders. Obviously not physically. Maybe I want to still be strong physically, but like, having emotion, like, from others, like leaning into community, being able to be responsible for, at that time, my grandkids, hopefully my great grandkids, people in the community, obviously my wife. Yeah, that's probably what I would say.
That's beautiful, my man. Listen, you've given a lot of time here, and I appreciate it. This has been a great conversation. If somebody
Happy
was
to do it.
curious to find out a little bit more about some of the things that you do and understand
Yeah.
some of those things that the frameworks can help them with, what's the best way that they can get in touch?
If you're interested in like Hogan, and you want to go like the business route, my email is jhorton@hoganassessments.com, JHORTON @hoganassessments.com. um Shoot me an email. That's where I live, all day, so that's probably the best way to go. If it's more personal, I sometimes check my LinkedIn, so you can find me. You can see the my name. I'm that guy, and it looks like me on the, the thing. So just find that. It's the best match, and shoot me a message, I guess. But I usually don't check LinkedIn too often. Um, so yeah, that probably it. Probably it.
Cool, man. Well, listen, thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you doing this. I know it went all over the place, but it was fun.
Well, no, that is part of the fun, and then
Yeah.
we'll have to figure out how we do this again another time. I think
Yeah,
that
that'd
would
be
be cool.
great, man. That'd be great. Yeah. See, after you watch it and you're like, I don't know if I should have that guy back. If you don't feel that way, then let's set up another one. So,
No, I don't think that's going to be the reaction.
cool,
All right,
cool.
my
All
man.
right.
Thank you.
All right. Good news. Good to talk to you.